Yeah, yeah, Nagesh.
New to I'm new to this today's session. Like starting hours, I didn't anything. I didn't listen anything.
Okay.
So can you join me to that email group?
Okay. Actually, I am not the admin. Like Kishore needs to add you.
Okay.
Okay. So
So I want to
one
get to
sec.
that. Whatever the
Yeah.
softwares are right.
Yeah. So I'll send the list actually. So I need to send one email. I couldn't send that. Okay. See, you need to install this dbeaver. Okay. Install the dbeaver. I'll paste the download link here in this chat itself. Okay. Install the dbeaver. Okay. So you can do it along with me right now.
Okay, sure.
Download the whatever latest version available. Okay. You need to select your installer, like Windows installer.
Okay.
Okay. So then like open this free SQL free SQL database.com. Okay, so here,
FreeSQLdatabase.com.
yeah. So you can get free, like, oh, okay. I need to send it to all. Okay, see the purpose of using this free SQL database.com is like it will give you 5 MB of like space free. Okay, and you can create one database. Okay, that is more than enough to learn on database. Okay. So and it's free of cost. It is cloud hosted. Okay, click on sign up. Or let's see if there are any other better. So are you installing dbeaver?
Yeah, it's installed.
Okay. Okay. So once this page loads, click on sign up.
Okay.
Isn't website too slow or my network connection problem? Else let's use AWS. We can use other functionalities also in AWS. That is better. Let's create a trial account for AWS. Are you creating the account in AWS?
Yes, Jagdish.
Yeah, okay. Use this link for AWS sign up.
Yeah, okay.
Jagdish, do I need to give same name for AWS account name?
No, anything. You can give anything.
Okay.
So while selecting how do you plan to use AWS, select personal for your own projects. Okay.
Okay.
So if you select business, like you need to give your like official email ID, then you need to like cost will also be high. So for learning purpose, like they have so many few like so many free options. Okay. So here you still have to give this card details. Okay. So better like you will not be charged anything. Okay. So you will not be charged anything, and it will take time also. Like you will have 12 months of free credits. Okay. So before, after, as soon as you learn, you can either close your AWS account or like you will have to do that. Okay, you need to close your account without fail.
How much they charge?
Sorry.
How much they charge?
No, they will not charge anything right now.
Okay.
Yeah, they won't
After
even
12 months, we have to close it in.
correct. Yeah, yeah. Like not after 12 months, before 12 months. Like once you're done learning, you can close the AWS account. Okay. So for now, it's asking for 2 rupees, maybe only for transaction confirmation. After that, they'll refund this.
Ritesh, should we give our number or genuine
Yeah,
original?
you can give, no problem. Okay. So once you're done, fuck. Hello, hello.
Yeah, we can hear.
Yeah, okay. So once you're done, right? So it'll ask to select a support plan. Okay, select basic support free.
Okay.
Okay, so don't select these things. So it'll charge you. Select basic support free. Okay. Okay. So once your AWS account is created, right? So go back to this URL, PreSQL database. Okay. So in AWS, what we will do is we'll learn SQS. Okay. Then there is something called DocDB, Document DB. Okay. So I have a live project for this, how they use this Document DB and DynamoDB and all. Okay. So a few companies, they are using DynamoDB and DocumentDB, but not majorly. Okay, but still it will be helpful to learn. Okay, if suppose there is a requirement, it will be helpful. So then we'll learn about S3 bucket also. Okay, S3 buckets configuration also. Okay, in AWS, let's learn these many. You need any other functionality in AWS that you want to learn? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. You need any other functionality in AWS that you want to learn?
Sir, whichever required that we want to learn.
Okay. So majorly you need SQS, S3 for sure. Okay, definitely you need these two, and it would be better if you learn DynamoDB also. Okay, it would be better if you learn DynamoDB also, DynamoDB or DocumentDB, any of these two. The DocumentDB we don't have to, because we will be directly learning MongoDB. Okay, so DynamoDB, let's learn DynamoDB. Okay. So for now, go to this PreSQL database.com register itself. Okay. So there, give your email ID. Okay, and click on register.
Jagdish sir, it is asking the role it is interested.
Role, right? You can select developer or anything, any role is fine. It doesn't matter anyway.
Okay.
Are you done with AWS account creation?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Sorry, open this free MySQL hosting.net. Okay, so this is more simpler. My account for free SQL hosting is expired. So all these are trial accounts. Okay, so we better need to hurry in with respect to practicing and all. Okay, so if you want to practice anything with respect to configurations or anything, you will have to do it faster. As and when we discuss on these topics, you better start. You will also need MongoDB. Okay. So MongoDB, how you want to practice? You want to practice it by installing local, or you want it cloud hosted? Because in your organization, in organizations, they'll use cloud only.
Cloud would be fine.
Yeah. Okay.
Sir, there are two links regarding SQL. Should we register on both?
SQL, no, well, not both actually. Free SQL database is there, right? So that don't use that. Okay. Actually, you can use it. You can try that, but instead of that, try using free MySQL hosting.in, or else wait for 5 minutes. I'll confirm. Okay.
Okay.
Meanwhile, create a MongoDB account. I'm sharing the link for MongoDB account.
Okay.
Then we'll explain concepts later. Today, let's mainly concentrate on installing.
Sir, instead of creating an account, can we sign up with Google?
Yeah, that is also fine.
Okay. What is your goal today?
So everyone created AWS account, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So once you create, log into your console. Okay. So console URL is this.
Sign into console.
Yeah, console.aws.amazon.com. Okay. So once you log into console, in the services, like try to search for SQS and S3 and make sure that you are able to open them.
It is asking whether you are root user or I am the user.
Okay, root user. Login as a root user. If you're done creating AWS user, create MongoDB cloud account also.
It's asking for what is your goal today.
Anything is fine. You can select any option.
New console home. Switch to new console.
Hmm.
Maybe later.
Jimmy said it is asking me, like in MongoDB, uh, what type of application you are developing and language to select.
Okay, okay. Just a second. Okay. Okay. Can you share your screen and show that option? Since I already have that account, I cannot show what option to select, but can you share your screen?
Actually, I'm just using my office laptop. I cannot share.
Okay, okay.
Okay, I will share my screen
Yeah.
now.
Okay, keep it. Yeah, okay. Like select first one itself, explore what I can build. Then in the what type of application you're using, just a second, scroll down. Microservices. Okay. Language, JavaScript. So for application, select microservices, language, JavaScript. Okay. Select whatever is free. Yeah, that one. Then scroll down. Okay, just a second. Default setting is fine for this. Okay. Scroll down.
AWS and it selected Mumbai.
Mm, yeah, default is fine. Okay. Click on create cluster. So cluster name, if you want to change your cluster name, you can change it.
Create
Since-
cluster, this one.
Yeah, just a second. Give me control. Yeah. See here, this cluster name is there, right? If you want to change this cluster, you can change it. Okay. So you can change your cluster name. It will be easier to identify. Okay. So now you can set different types of authentication for your MongoDB connection. Okay, one is basic authentication using username and password. Okay, and the other is certificate based authentication. Okay, most of them use basic authentication. Okay, excuse me. So most of them use basic authentication itself, which is a username and password. Okay. So again, you will be connecting from your local environment only, but this doesn't matter. Okay, like this is to whitelist your IPs. Okay, for example, let's say if you are connecting from your local environment, you need to give your IP address and add this entry so that it can add you as a trusted connection. Okay, so if you use this cloud environment, for example, let's say your company is using private cloud, which is they have their own set of data centers and servers. Okay, so that means they will be maintaining some IP range, something like 192.240.1.1, starting from that range to 192.240.255.255. Till these many IP addresses your company has blocked. Okay, with respect to their private cloud, so you can give access to only those IP address range. Okay, you can configure that setting here. Okay, so that is why they have given this. Okay, whatever you select, it will work. Okay, so but it is just to add additional validations. That's it. Okay, so here in username and password, like for now, I will give root and root. Okay, root and root. It will create a user. Okay, so here see password authentication type you can select. Okay, so for now I have selected basic authentication only. Okay, then click on finish and close. Or else, okay, let's add it. Okay,
Skin cluster name.
okay. So it is creating the cluster. It will take some time. So once it's creates, then we need to create a database. Okay, cluster is created. Okay, so if you click on connect, you can see the connection details, how you can connect. Okay, so dbeaver, you have dbeaver, right? So dbeaver is a database client application. Okay, so that means Kirti, have you installed dbeaver?
Sorry, dbeaver I haven't installed. AWS I have installed.
Okay, you have created the account, right? Okay, let me share my screen. See, dbeaver is a database client application. Okay, using dbeaver, you can connect to any type of database. Okay, you can connect to all these databases. Okay, similarly for MongoDB also, you have one client application called Robo3T. Okay, so you have one client application called Robo3T. Okay, so this Robo3T is used to execute queries in MongoDB. You can connect to MongoDB. Okay, so this is the purpose of using Robo3T. You can install this Robo3T, but we'll come to this later once we start learning on MongoDB. Okay, so create create your MongoDB account. Okay.
Okay.
So our AWS account is done. MongoDB account should be done. Now for MySQL, use this free MySQL hosting.net itself. So do you want to run a mobile application like for your understanding purpose? Like that was just for to show how to access web services from mobile application and how to use that web service response. In order to demonstrate that, I had built that mobile app. So still I have maintained that code base here. Okay, so you will be able to check that. Okay, so in this repository, like once I get all your email IDs, I'll add you as users for this. But still you can see this repository. It's a public repository basically. If you simply want to see, then you can use this repository. Else, if you want to check in some code and if you want to learn how to raise pull requests and everything as part of real-time experience, then you should be users. Okay, so I have added code here. Okay, so you will be able to see all the code here.
Your screen is not.
Wait, I will stop my screen share. You can share.
So now able to see now?
Yeah, now it's visible.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. See in this repository, right? So Mule 3 during migration from Mule 3 to Mule 4, in Mule 3 I had built few like common logic. Okay, I have not checked in anything into Mule 3 because when I started, Mule 3 was already being migrated to Mule 4. Okay, so in Mule 4 you can see Mule 4 common flows logic for now. Okay, we will still add a few more projects. Okay, in Mule 4 JSON logger, this is a custom JSON logger. Okay, that I had built. So you can use this. I have given documentation also on how to use this. Okay, so you can use this custom JSON logger. Then this is the mobile apps repository. Okay, so where I had showed you one mobile application, right? Like how to consume web service from mobile application and how to understand the information that is retrieved by mobile application. So that code you can find it here. Okay, so we will be majorly working on this repository. Okay, whenever you make change in repository, the common practice is you need to create a feature branch. Okay, so if you are working on a new story or new enhancement, okay, or if you are working on new enhancement or new user story, then you need to create a feature branch. A naming convention should be like feature / your ticket number, Jira ticket number, like Jira 1, 2, 3, whatever it is. Okay, so Jira ticket number. You need to create branches in this naming convention. Okay, if you are working on bug fixes, okay, then you need to give hotfix / then Jira ticket number. Okay, so that is the naming convention that you need to follow. Okay, whenever I give you assignments, since we have multiple users, at the end you can give your username, okay, or nickname. Okay, so once you are done with your changes and like you have checked in your code, create a pull request. Okay, so while creating pull request, you need to select your branch at the right hand side, and left hand side you need to select to which branch you want to merge the code. Okay, select that branch. Okay, and then click on create pull request. Okay, so now since we don't have anything, it won't show anything. Okay, so you will have to follow, everyone has to follow this convention. Okay, so this is a common practice in all organizations. Okay, whichever organization you go, connectors might change and everything might change, but Git concept remains same. Okay, you might be using Bitbucket, you might be using Stash, or you might be using GitHub. All these three are Git based repositories. Okay, concept will be same. Okay, so in order to connect from Git based repositories, you can use GitHub desktop. It will be easier. You don't have to memorize any commands. Okay, using this you don't have to memorize any commands. It is very easier, like to create, to check in the code, to push changes, to resolve conflicts, for everything. This is easier tool. Okay, you can install this GitHub desktop from this link. Okay. So I have given the link. Okay, so install the GitHub link. Okay. So that is one thing. And someone had doubt with respect to exception handling, right? What was it?
Yeah, in the second transform SS, we gave our customized status code, right?
Correct. Yeah.
When I hit it, it's showing either only one, not both of them. When I use that in the one single transform SS, one as variable and one as payload, then I'm getting the total.
Okay. Can you share your screen and show the code?
Okay.
So all of you created your MongoDB accounts, right?
Yes.
Okay. So once done creating MongoDB accounts, install Robo3T. I have shared the link in the chat. No. Open your studio and show the code, Surya. Okay. So here, scroll down. Okay. Give me control.
The other transform SS has that variable.
Okay. See here, what is happening is this is fine. Okay. So whatever you're selecting here, this is fine. You should have default. Reason is, see, in HTTP status code module, if you go here, so you have only two types of errors listed here.
Okay.
Okay. So one is bad request, one is not found. Okay. How error handling works is only if there is any error, it will trigger this code, else it won't trigger this code.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's say you have not received bad request. Okay. You have received something else, some other error. Okay.
Yeah.
So what will happen? There won't be any value for this. Okay. It will be null. HTTP status
Okay.
code will be null. So by default, still in your listener, what will happen? See, in your listener, while responding back, what it will check? It will check for vars.http status code.
Yeah,
Okay.
default, yeah, 500.
If it is null, default, it will take 500. That is also fine. Okay.
Okay.
Only thing is, like, you should handle that logic here itself.
Okay.
Okay. Reason is, we don't know if, for example, let's say you want to add one JSON logger after that. Okay. And you want to print HTTP status in that JSON logger. Since the value is null, it might throw null pointer exception is right. So
Yeah.
that is unnecessary exception event. Okay.
Okay.
So you better handle null checks wherever you are using that variable or creating that variable itself.
Okay.
Okay. So whenever you are trying to initiate some value for this variable, you should also have null check. Okay. If you're trying to read somewhere from somewhere, you should be prepared that value might be null, and in case of null value, what you need to print. You need to write logic for that. Okay.
Okay.
So that is one thing. Second thing is, say here, you have set payload already here with this content.
Yeah.
Okay. In second transform message, this payload is empty,
Yeah.
null. So what will happen? Whatever message you have generated, this is working fine. Okay, it is generating and it is putting this output to payload message,
Yeah.
payload. Okay. But again, since you are resetting that payload, you will not receive any output. Okay. So you will have to delete this.
Okay.
Okay. In second transform message, you only need to set HTTP status. You should not modify payload because you have already generated one payload with your details,
Okay.
details that you needed.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Got it right?
Yeah, got it.
So see in Mule, Mule follows SEDA architecture, SEDA, staged event driven architecture. Okay. So that means how MuleSoft works is it will have a input thread, okay, where it will receive the request. Okay.
Okay.
Then let me share my screen.
Okay.
Okay. So it will have a input thread where it will receive the request. Okay. Then it will have processing thread where it will decide where to send this message. Okay. And what to do with that message. Okay. So it will have this processing thread. Okay. Third one is it will have dispatcher thread. Dispatcher thread is, for example, let's say in success scenario, everything is successful. Like it has received the request, routed to this flow. It has executed this transform message and it was able to print this message. Okay. And now it needs to forward this message back to whoever requested this URL. Okay.
Okay.
This is dispatcher thread. Okay.
Okay.
So everything happens in a single direction. There is no coming back. Okay. So once logger is executed, it has executed. That's it. So you cannot go back and execute the logger again. There is no looping here. Okay.
Yeah.
MuleSoft is unidirectional. That means if you have written components side by side, one after the other, it will execute in that flow itself. Okay. It won't come back to that stage where it has already executed. Okay. Apart from these three threads, it has something called error thread. Okay. What this error thread will do is whenever there is an error in any of the area, okay, it can be in any flow or any component. Okay. Whenever there is error, this will always there be to catch. Okay.
Okay.
Only thing is your logic should support to catch that error. Okay. For example, let's say if you have written API kit bad request here, okay, and your error says HTTP connectivity error, okay, then you can never catch that error here.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can never catch that error here. Okay, this thread is ready to receive the errors, catch the errors, but you don't have enough logic to allocate some transformation or anything to that error.
Yeah.
Okay, so in order to allocate, you need to select error type as any. So if you select error type as any, it will be able to take care of any types of errors.
Okay.
Okay, so this is.
Sir, by default, we have to mention any without mentioning.
No, it's not like that. It's up to you. Okay, how you want to generate. Okay, for example, let's say, let me show you one example. Okay, let me connect to VPN and show you one live API.
If you mention any, that is a safe side thing, right, sir? Even if you got any error, that
correct,
we're not
yeah,
supposed to imagine.
Correct. So in since nowadays it's majorly work from home, right? Clients are giving these remote desktops and Citrix workspaces.
Jagdish, I have a small query in
Yeah.
threads. Okay.
Yeah.
See, totally how many types of threads we have in in Mule?
Four types of threads.
Okay, this is the one of the entry question I faced from Accenture actually. So
Okay.
they're asking like how many type of threads is there in Mule? Okay, can you explain how it will work one by one like that they asked. So
Okay. Yeah, the four types of threads will be there. One is a receiver thread, processing thread, dispatcher thread, and error thread. Four types. Okay. See here. This is a error handling written in one of the applications. Okay, in this project. Reason is they want to generate different type of response for each type of error. Okay, so that's why they have written these many blocks. Okay, so how I have done it in my project, in my own live project is like I have simply written one block. Okay, and I'm capturing all the error responses dynamically. Okay, so because see here for few errors they will write custom messages. Okay, like this too many requests. Okay, they will write custom messages. Okay, so that's why they write like error blocks for each type of error. Okay, for whatever errors they are not able to see during development time, they simply mention one more error block saying any, and then they create this error message, this error response. Understood, right?
Okay.
Yeah, so that is how in real time they will build. Okay, so if you check this project structure is also different. Okay, so we'll come to that later in part of
Sir, if you simply mention any, we're not able to know which type of error we are getting, right?
no, it's not like that. See, it's not like that. So I had already run and showed you, right? See here, error type, I'm capturing that dynamically. Now I can clearly tell what type of error I am getting.
Okay.
In the response. Okay, see, error handling at any stage you will have control on all type of error information. Okay, it's not based on what type you have selected. Okay, so if it has entered error handling, you can get any type of information you need. Okay, only thing is if you want to customize your response, for example, let's say let me copy paste this and okay, let me copy paste this and show you. For example, let's say for a bad request. Okay. Okay. So I don't want to simply give some whatever description I have got from error, because it will be displaying my backend system URLs and everything. Okay, in that error, saying that the connection could not be established to so and so web service and all. Okay, I don't want that information displayed to me to the client. Okay, what I can change for API kit bad request, I need to tell that wrong request data, okay, has been sent. Please check the request.
Okay.
Okay, so I want to set this custom message. I can set it here.
Okay, understand.
Okay, so as a like coming back to the original point, see, MuleSoft is unidirectional flow. Okay, unidirectional flow in the sense, if you have written some logic and if you have placed some connectors and components and everything side by side, there is no coming back. It will go forward only. Okay, so that means as and when you go right, so these values can override. Okay, see, if you take the mule message structure, okay, what it will have payload, it will have attributes. Inside attributes you will have headers, query parameters, all these things. Okay, and then you'll have variables. Okay, for example, let's say I have received variable, like I'm setting a variable here, okay, as a message. Okay, So, and I have set the value as hello. Okay. I'll set the same variable again here also. Okay. Now I'll set how are you. Okay. So let me run in debug. Okay. So if I hit the URL, see now this variable set variable is executed, right? So the value of this variable message is hello. Okay, whatever I have set here. Okay. So if I go to this flow, what the- okay. Okay. So I have enabled strict validation. Okay, you remember the other day we spoke about strict validation. Okay,
Yeah, redirecting.
yeah, no, strict validation. See in
API kit router we can.
yeah, so in RAML, if I mention few headers to receive few headers, I should only send those headers. Okay, I should not send any other header. Okay, so that's why it is throwing error.
We have to disable.
Yeah. So we need to disable that strict validation. So these headers are set by this console web page. I'm not setting any header. Okay. See now the value of this message variable is hello. Okay. If I go now, again I'm setting the same variable. Okay. Again I'm setting the same variable. Okay. So the value changed to how are you? Okay. So what happens is if you are using same memory location, okay, variable is nothing but name given to a memory location. Okay. For the same memory location, if you are using same memory location but with different value, it will override that value. Okay, so that is what happened in your case in error handling. What happened in first message, you are setting the payload, okay, with this value. In second transform message, you are setting the payload again with empty payload. Okay, so what it will do, it has already generated this payload. Okay, but since like you are resetting that payload to null value, you won't see any response when the transaction is complete. Okay, so MuleSoft has like fixed message structure. Okay, and that message structure is, see, if I print simply message is a keyword. Okay, so if I simply print message, see what I'll see attributes, I'll see payload. Okay, I'll see all these things. Okay, so if I print message dot payload, okay, so there is no payload, so that's why it is printing empty. Okay, if I print message dot attributes, which is headers, okay, I'll get headers, I'll get query parameters also. Okay, query parameters and URI parameters. Okay, so if I want to access query parameters, attributes dot query parameters. Okay, so that is how the mule message structure is. Okay, sorry, it's params, query params. That is how mule message structure is. Okay, so in this message structure, if you are modifying any part of the message, like if you are modifying message.payload, only that particular like key will be modified. It won't modify complete mule message. Understood, right? Okay. So similarly, variables. If you are setting vars.message variable, as of now it's hello. Okay. So if it executes this component, which is resetting the message variable, now the value for that message will be whatever you have updated here. Okay, so it will override. Understood, right? Like how mule message flow, like mule flow works, and how like it maintains the message structure and variables, and how it is overriding the values if you try to set the same variable again and again. Understood this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is applicable everywhere, including error handling. Okay, so in error handling also, if you have already set the error payload, you don't have to set again. It will basically reset that value whatever you have generated earlier. So that's why you are seeing empty response. Okay.
Jagdish, if we want to maintain that value throughout the payload, I don't want to change. What we can do here?
Okay, so let me show you. For example, let's say, I'm generating this you will get confused with message. Okay, I'm generating this JSON response. Okay, so let me put this here. Okay, let it read it. Okay, see, at this point of time, payload is empty. Okay, so after this, I have generated this payload. Greetings, how are you? Okay, but in the output, by the time you see that, I have modified the payload. Okay, what you are saying is, even at this point, I should not get the payload modified, whatever I have set here, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay, so there are two ways. For example, let's say, imagine this is not a direct transformation. Okay, and imagine you are using HTTP requester. Let me use that directly. Okay, I'll delete this. So I'm hitting this web service. Okay, I'm hitting this web service. So here we have something called transport barrier in MuleSoft. Okay, that is just a concept, transport barrier in the sense either your mule message is getting changed or your payload is getting changed. Okay, if any component are connected that changes your mule message or payload, then it's a transport barrier. Okay, so you can preserve your original payload from this transport barrier being modified by two methods. One is using message enricher. Okay, in mule 3 we have separate scope called message enricher, whereas in mule 4 we don't have message enricher. Okay, so it is built inbuilt into connectors. Okay, or flow. Okay, so one way is here in every connector, if you go to advanced, there is something called output. In output you have target value and target variable. Okay, for example, let's say in target variable I give web service response. Okay, web service response. So before I save this, let me hit the current request and show you if payload is getting changed or not. Okay, so payload is getting changed here. Okay, now let me show save. So here in advanced section, under target variable, I'm saving this output of this connector. Whatever connector this connector output is giving, I'm saving it into this variable. Okay. See, payload is greetings, how are you? Still payload is same. See, even after this also payload is same. Okay, so what happened to the output of this connector is it went to a variable, it created one variable and saved that response here. Okay, so this is how you can preserve your original message. Okay, so there is another method. Okay, instead of using it this target variable, what you can do is you can extract this particular component into a separate subflow. Okay, and you can name that flow as call web service. Okay, extract it into a separate flow or subflow. It can be anything. Okay. Okay, so after you extract in flow reference itself, you have the same configuration. Okay, target value and target. Okay, see here you can select what output you want to save it into a variable. Okay, for example, let's say you don't want to save the connector response payload into variable. You only want to save the connector output headers. Okay, you can select that target value as attributes. Okay, attributes and save that into web service response attributes. Okay, understood, right? Whatever part of the mule message that you want to save from the flow reference, you can save that particular part of the mule message in this variable. Okay, so that is how message enricher works in MuleSoft. So you can either mention a target variable where you want to save the output, or you can inside connector itself, inside every connector itself, under advanced section, you can mention the target variable. Got it, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, okay. So in this case also, if I hit the URL, so payload is same. Here in this subflow, if I place a logger here the payload will change. Okay, because I'm not using any target variable in the advanced section, right? As per this subflow scope, the payload will get changed. Okay. By the time it come out of that subflow, it will make sure that payload is same, like whatever was there earlier, because it is saving the output of that subflow into a variable here. Okay. Understood, right?
Yeah.
Any doubts? No.
Our payload, our original payload will be overridden only when we connect to these external systems, or
No. Whenever you try to set payload, it will
okay,
change. So you can use set payload, you can use transform
transfer
message,
message.
or you
Okay.
can use different connectors. So
Okay.
whatever shape in this
Okay.
mule palette that changes payload can change payload.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Logger cannot change payload. Variable cannot change payload. Set variable cannot change payload. Okay, so these things cannot change payload. Understood, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So coming back to setup, where were we? Okay. So, like you need to create MySQL account in this URL itself. Okay. Create MySQL account in this URL. We'll set up database. Okay. So that tomorrow we can continue with our original API-led connectivity concept. And tomorrow we'll finish API-led connectivity concept. Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any doubts you have?
No.
Okay. Or else we'll do one thing. MySQL hosting, like leave it to me. I'll create a database, okay, and I'll add you as users to that, okay. So you can create your own tables and practice. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. We'll continue tomorrow. So MongoDB also you have created, right? You have created your account, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we need AWS, MongoDB, then MySQL, these three. Okay. So tomorrow it's going to be around 2 hours or 10 or 15 minutes more class. Okay. So be prepared for that.
Yeah. Okay.
Need robotics, Robo 3D DB also we need to do this.
Yeah. You need to install Robo 3D also. So this is like, see, for SQL databases, I have this client application, okay, dbeaver, okay. Using this, I can connect to all these types of databases, okay. But for MongoDB, I cannot use this client application, okay. I need to use its own provisioned client application, which is Robo3. So that's why we need Robo3. From dbeaver, you cannot connect. Okay, so we'll continue tomorrow. Any doubts?
Jagdish,
Yeah.
where we can get past sessions, like recorded sequence sessions.
I'm not sure. You need to check with Kishore, I think.
Okay.
Okay. So you are clear with respect to error handling, right? No doubts, right? Any doubts you have in error handling? Hello.
Sir, there are 4 types of error handlings, right? Progressive.
Okay. No, see, in Mule, there are only 2 types, on error propagate and on error continue.
Yeah.
Okay. So on error propagate in the sense, okay.
It, it will, it will deploy even if there is an error like that.
No, it's not deploy. So it will say on error propagate. What on error propagate does is, for example, let's say I have a try catch block under this flow reference, like while calling web service. Okay. While calling web service, I have a try catch block. Okay. Inside this try catch block, what I'm doing, I have on error propagate for HTTP colon connectivity. Okay. Okay. And I have set a logger. Okay. I have on error continue for any. Okay. And I have logger. Okay. So what's the meaning of this is, while calling this web service, if I experience any connectivity errors, connectivity related errors from that connector, HTTP connector, then I need to report that error. Okay. Report that error and stop the message processing here itself. It should not proceed further. Okay. Because let's say I have one transform message. Okay. Which says set final response. Okay. And I want to generate one output. Okay. So if there is a connectivity error, I will not have enough information from here to generate a final response. Okay. For example, let's say I have bad request error from this web service. Okay.
Okay.
I don't want to throw that as an error event. Okay. I want to still give a final response. Okay. With error response received from web service. Okay. I need to set that in transform message also. Use that in transform message. Okay.
Error continue, we don't get the desired output, but
No,
we won't get
not
another.
see, not desired output. Okay. See, what error event means is, for example, say you have written a program. Okay, it can be in any programming language, Java, JavaScript, or anything. Let's say in line number 1, you have an error. Okay, there is an exception in line number 4 or something. Okay.
Okay.
You won't like it will not continue executing 5, 6 and further. Okay, it will start at line number 4, and while reporting the error, what it will say, so and so error has occurred at line number 1 and column number something else. Okay, so that is how your programming language will report errors. Similarly, in Mule also, if there is any error, connectivity error while executing this flow, then it will say that at so and so processor. Okay, because this is a processor or shape. Okay, at so and so processor, it has received connectivity error. Okay, and then it will stop the message processing till this point. It won't continue further. Okay, it will stop the message processing. Whereas in on next component. Okay. So that is the purpose of using on error continue.
Okay.
Okay. So you will be able to answer if I ask questions on error handling, right? Like so far, whatever we have discussed.
Yes.
Okay. Like what type of errors we have, how to use global error handler, how to capture errors dynamically, how to set HTTP status code dynamically. Like if I set on error propagate with type as any at beginning, and if I set around 5 other blocks of on error propagate, which block will get executed first? Okay, it will always execute any. Okay,
Yes.
so if you have any here,
Custom.
and if you have bad request here, and if your current error type is bad request, it will not go here. It will go here because any will match anything.
Yes.
So that's why it will execute this block. It will not go here.
Okay.
Okay. So these kind of questions will come in interviews. But still, I have explained complete details about error handling, like how to use try catch block, what type of error handling you have, and what is the purpose of setting type in error handling. Okay, how to capture the errors. So apart from that, we learned little bit of data view also, like using modules. And you are clear with this, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Let's continue tomorrow. Okay. Bye. See you all.
Thank you. See you.
Bye, sir. Thank you.